What's going on, everybody? It's Pastor Jay here with Daily Inspiration. Hope that you guys have been getting inspired by the words that we've been sharing on a day-to-day basis. Whether you're watching this in the afternoon or the morning, you're on a break, whatever time you are jumping in here, we're so glad that you do. We just ask that you just keep your notifications turned on here as we as we share within the word, and we give you some practical tools to be inspired on a daily basis. I really enjoy coming to you guys in this way, whether you're watching this in video form or you're listening to this in audio form, whether you're listening to this on your Bluetooth speakers in your car, if you have an Alexa device. I want you guys to just stay locked in. We're working on getting our podcast up and running. I cannot wait to come to you guys consistently in a podcast form, because I know that many people are consuming content in this way. It's important as we build this ministry, as we build Illuminate Churches, as I grow as a pastor, as a leader, as a person who becomes more and more vocal in this space, to give people the tools to access. The people who are winning in this day and time are the people who learn how to adjust. So that's the first thing I want to say. I know a lot of you guys that listen and follow me are business leaders, are entrepreneurs, our thought leaders. I want to encourage you guys, let your voice be heard. If you are on social media, start posting every single day. It's not good enough to just consume somebody else's posts. We want people to consume your posts as well. It's your audience is out there. The people who are ready to hear the message that you have. There's so many of you all with powerful messages. There are people out there who have gone through things that are using their voices with so much power and so much class and dignity. I actually want to give a shout out to a friend. They don't know I'm going to do this. I don't even know if they're watching this, but I want to give a special shout out to my good friend. My wife and I have a good friend. Her name is Lysandra Hutchinson. And I believe it was 2017, Lysandra tragically lost her husband, Kenneth. And he passed away suddenly, and she became a widow at a very early age with young children. And Lysandra has used her platform to create a ministry called Grace and Grief. And Lysandra has leveraged that and has built a wonderful ministry where she is reaching people all over the world through her testimony. And part of her healing was her sharing her story via social media. And I want you guys to connect with Lysandra, because Lysandra is an amazing speaker. She is a thought leader, and she is extremely brilliant. I want to keep encouraging you guys. Use your voice. Use your voice. It's your voice. God gave you a voice to speak for a reason. And one thing I'm grateful for is that this is a day and time where the middleman has been taken away. I do believe that, we answer to people to a certain degree. Yes, there are checks and balances to a certain degree. But for the most part, if you have something in your heart and you have a camera, right now I'm speaking into an actual camera, but you may have a phone, use your phone to speak into that phone and create that camera, create that video, create that think piece, right? To speak to an audience that God has geared and designed especially for you. I want to just keep encouraging you. Speak your story. Don't be afraid to speak your story, especially for those of you all who are business owners, you're entrepreneurs, you have ideas. You have to build your business and think about the future. Don't just think about the present. Don't just think about being right now. Think about being right 5 and 10 years down the road, right? Document your thoughts. Start saying things on camera. Start sharing your ideas with people. Here's another thing. Start giving some of your ideas away for free. That might sound crazy, but the more that you give value to people, the more that you give things away to people, the more they will appreciate what you actually have. There's going to be a day and time where people are going to ask you your price, and you're going to give them your price, and you're going to be paid handsomely for what you're doing. I want you to receive that. I want you to receive that into your hearts. I want you to receive that into your minds, that there's a day that's coming very soon. It's not so far out in the future. It's not so far out that you can't see it, touch it, feel it, taste it. That day is coming. But even as you prepare for that day, will you actually be able to give that thing away, that thing that God has given you, that God-sized future, that God designed promise that he gave you? Would you be willing to give your thoughts away for free? Oh, would you be willing to give that thing away? If you know that God has already promised you something, you know it's been prophesied over you, you know it's been prophesied that you are going to have wealth, you know it's been prophesied that that your business is going to be into the millions of dollars, then don't trip about giving some things away. You're going to have to give some things away, okay? Don't be afraid of that. And do not be afraid to speak the thing that is in your mind. Stop being afraid to speak. Stop being afraid of what people's judgment is going to be of you. The quicker that you get rid of other people's judgment for you, the faster that you can get to your actual purpose. Do you realize how much Jesus was judged in real time? Jesus was judged so much in real time that he just had to, I can't worry about that. I have people to heal. I have miracles to do. I have a promise to fulfill. So if you're worried about posting something, you're trying to be perfect in your post, you're trying to word things, now I'm not saying don't use discretion, but I'm saying a lot of y'all aren't even using discretion. A lot of y'all are just straight up scared. A lot of y'all are just straight up afraid of what people are going to think. Let me encourage you. Let me be your coach right now. Let me be your mentor right now. Let me be your pastor right now. Skip what these people are saying. Because the people that are going to tell you you're crazy, they were never meant to be your audience in any way. They were never meant to buy your product anyway. They were never meant to be a part of what you were doing anyway. I can't focus my time, effort, and energy on people who were never meant to be a part of my scope anyway. You weren't going to join the church anyway. You weren't going to listen to anything I had to say anyway. So I love you. I pray for you. I'll give you the Tabitha Brown. Oh, that's so great. I'm going to pray for you. Oh, isn't it so great? Oh, it's so great. And agree peacefully with your enemies and keep it moving, because God has a large audience waiting for you. There's an audience that is waiting to hear what God has placed on your heart. There's an audience that is waiting to hear your testimony. There's an audience waiting to hear what you've been through, how you overcame. There's an audience waiting to know how you leveled up, how you bought your house, how you started your business, how you fixed that thing, how you designed your house. Like how you raise your children, how you got your children into college and had it all paid for, how you got your kids into the private school, how you studied for a test. This is really where things are headed right now. And I understand this as a pastor. I must put people into position. I must find people who are skilled in so many different areas and help others get skilled in that area. This is where the church is going. The church must be this place to help people launch businesses, get into the marketplace, and represent the kingdom of God. Not just prophesy to somebody, tell you you're going to get all this money, but never give them practical tools of how to share their story. Never give them the practical tools of where to go, what to do, how to do it, right? So this is who I am. I'm really just now understanding the sweet spot in this space. This isn't even what I wanted to come on and talk about. But as I come on here and I start to talk to you all, and God is just giving me what to say during this time, I really feel this is for somebody. If this is for you, I haven't even addressed you guys in the chat. If this is for you, say this is for me. I want you to just represent. Also, just represent where you're watching from right now. Tell me where you're watching from. Even though this may be pre-recorded, you may be watching this at a different time. I still want you to represent where you're watching from. And we're always going to talk. I'm always talking back and having conversations in the chat with people. I also want to know, write this in the chat if you're watching this, right? I love for people to interact. So, not just watch it to see, well, what is he talking about? What's going on? No, I want you to interact. I want you to put in the chat and tell people what you do. Give people some kind of one little one-liner about what you do. Doesn't matter if you own a business. Doesn't matter if you're an employee. I don't care what it is that you do. Tell us what you do. Here's why I want you to do that. It's important to tell people what you do because there may be somebody watching this that may need you. They may need your service. They may need your business. They may need the thing that you're selling. They may need the thing that you have expertise in. This is how we're going to start to connect and build an audience. If you hear some talking in the background, my son is back in there playing a game, so excuse that if that's a distraction. But I want you all to put in the chat what it is that you do. We want to know what you do. We want to know how we can connect with you, how we can help you. And talk about what your expertise is and how you can help people, how you can serve, how you can best serve people, right? We want to know how we can best utilize the gifts and talents that we actually have. All right. So today, we're putting all that to a side. Remember to keep writing that in the chat. I wanted to talk about something specifically for a few minutes here. And I preached this message about the Quantum Leap. I was so honored to go to Center of Hope Church a couple Sundays ago. Shout out to Pastor Jeremy Dixon. And Center of Hope has just been so kind. It's an amazing church right here in our backyard in Inglewood, California. This Center of Hope is one of the most amazing churches. If you're in the Inglewood area, you should absolutely go and visit that church. And I had the opportunity to preach this message about the Quantum Leap, and I talked about Jacob, right? And the steps that it takes to get to your Quantum Leap. And I've really been on this subject of the Quantum Leap. God will not allow for me to let this go. So I'm going to stay on this. I may stay on this the rest of the year. My wife was like, you should just stay on this thing. I really want to talk about this. I think sometimes as pastors, as teachers, as people who are looking to lead a congregation, many times we get into like, okay, let's study this text and let's preach a message and let's like get a series and then let's get off the thing. And it's really more so checking the box. I need to really deconstruct that because I believe that one message can be preached and flipped and turned like for 3 years. I truly believe you can extract something out of the Word of God. Like one passage could be extracted so much. Some may disagree with that. That's fine. If that's not for you, this may, it may bore you. It may not be your thing. It's all good. It's no love lost. But this message that God has given me about the Quantum Leap, and he gave me very key steps. And I just want to talk about the first one right now. And I really want us to lean into this area. And this area is about isolation. There are people who are watching this right now. I want you to type in the chat. Let us know. Let me know if you're in a period of isolation right now. Like, what does isolation feel like? I'll tell you what isolation feels like for me. Isolation feels like you're the only person going through the thing that you're currently in right now. That's what isolation feels like. Even though you know that there's somebody else that has gone through the thing or is currently in the thing. But isolation to you feels as if you're in the middle of the ocean, right? You're feeling like Tom Hanks in Castaway. Think about that movie Castaway, which is one of the greatest movies of all time. Anytime that movie's on, my family and I will sit down and watch that movie because it's just great. It's a great movie. Tom Hanks, one of the greatest actors in history. And he was isolated on that deserted island for about 5 years. And you saw the stages that he went into. At first, he was trying to just figure out, how am I going to survive? How am I going to live? How am I going to eat? How am I going to get water? How am I going to get shelter? How am I going, not even how am I going to get off this island? How am I going to live? So isolation, when you're first in a period of isolation, you're trying to figure out, how am I going to live? Can I survive being by myself? Can I survive this current state? Can I survive being without a job, without a paycheck? Can I survive when unemployment runs out? Can I survive being divorced? Can I survive the death of this loved one? Can I survive the business not working out? Can I survive starting the business but not really having enough money to get the momentum going? Like, if that's you in the chat, just say that's me. I've gone through something that is isolating. So Tom Hanks is in that place of isolation where he is totally by himself. He's totally stripped of everything. He has nothing. Like, isolation is that period of nothingness. And so in this story of Jacob, where Jacob is going through his isolation, Jacob doesn't necessarily have nothing, but he's in this period of time where his family, he took his family with him, but he's basically like in this cave, and his family's not there. They're in another place. So his comfort zone was taken away. So you think about Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. His comfort zone was his job working for FedEx. His comfort zone was his wife, Helen Hunt. All that stuff had been taken away like that, in a snap, in a heartbeat, right? So here's Jacob going through this. In one snap, he's by himself. In one snap, he's not with his kids. He's not with his possessions. He's not with all the things that make him comfortable. So the question is, how long can you live without comfort? That's a hard question. That's a hard question for me to answer as well. You know, I'm thankful for this house. I'm thankful for my wife for creating this crazy, comfortable, amazing environment that we have here. And this comfortable bed, the comfortable couch, the comfortable chairs. She's made up my office area so wonderful here. So, you know, I'm used to going out to the beach, but today I said, I'm going to shoot in my office. I'm going to shoot in the area where I don't have to leave the house. When I leave the house to go shoot at the beach, it's only because I wanted to get some scenery in. But I'm like, this is fine with me. This is just as great, if not better. But when it's taken away, when you have the thing taken away, how well do you operate when you're isolated? How well can you conduct yourself when you're isolated? Let me tell you what happens when you're isolated. Your brain actually truly activates when you're isolated. Yep. When you're truly isolated, that now your brain is turned on. Those senses are heightened. Your touch, your feel, your taste, your sight, your vision, everything is activated because there's nothing around you to distract you. And so all the senses converge to figure out, how do we get back comfortable? If y'all been there, just let me know that you've been there. So your senses are trying to get you back comfortable. Your senses are trying to get you back to what is normal. Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because we all went through isolation last year. 2020, everybody was isolated. Everybody was at home. Everybody was taken out of the rat race. Everybody was taken out of traffic. Everybody had this work from home. Everybody had this thing. They couldn't see loved ones. They couldn't see their family. They were isolated. Tell me how you dealt with it. Like, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with the isolation? How did you deal with not being able to go out, not being able to go party, not being able to go to the club, not being able to travel, even though some people still travel. But for the most part, The things that we had comfort in doing all the time were taken away. That's isolation. Jacob was isolated. Jacob was taken away. He was isolated and insulated. So when he was taken away from his family, from his possessions, from the things that made him comfortable, God now said, I have your attention. So if you're in isolation right now, it feels uncomfortable because your creature comforts are taken away. But I want to tell you something. God says, I can now have your attention. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is what God is now asking you. Do you hear me now? Can you see me now? Can you feel me now? All your senses are converging now because I have your attention. Now, what happens when God has our attention? Now, this is the thing that's up to us. Our attention is not up to God. Our attention is up to us. Yes, he had to strip some things away to get our attention. But what happens once he gets our attention? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to respond to it? How are you going to be like Tom Hanks once he got to that place when he was isolated, right? Tom Hanks, it showed over a period of time. I'm going to have to figure out this space. Like everything has to converge in this one moment. And I'm going to have to figure out how life has to adjust now. So you're after a divorce. The divorce is over. How are you adjusting? You lost that loved one. Someone passed away. How are you adjusting? You lost your job. Unemployment has run out. How do you adjust in this isolation? You started this new business and you're not finding any leads. You're not finding any clients. How are you adjusting to this isolation? Tell me in the chat, how have you been adjusting? What are some things you're having issues with in your isolation? Talk to us in the chat. Talk to me in the chat. I want to have this conversation. You know, going through areas of isolation and grief can be super, super painful. It can be so painful because it feels like nobody really understands what you're going through. It truly feels like that. That isolation is painful. It hurts. I wish it upon no one. But there's so many people that understand what you've gone through, what you've seen. Last year, our family mourned and mourned and mourned for a long period of time after loss, multiple losses. As I'm sure many of you all may have experienced in your family or friends, you went through that period of time where you're asking questions. You went through that period of time where you just didn't want to get out of bed. You wanted to eat. You wanted to binge watch. You just wanted to sleep. I just want to just keep encouraging you, if you're going through that period right now, that it's okay, right? As long as you're feeling something, as long as you have a feeling, it's okay. You're going to go through it. You have to go through it. You have to go through it and keep utilizing the tools inside of this isolation. Allow for the things that God has naturally put inside of us to start to work, right? So when one thing shuts down, so think about this. For individuals who begin to lose their eyesight, when their eyesight leaves, their hearing becomes more sensitive. So sometimes in our isolation, there's something that we lose that goes away, but something else becomes more heightened. That's because God always puts something inside of us that says, once this starts to go down, let this thing kick in, right? So in this isolation, allow for something else to kick in, because isolation is the greatest place of personal development. It's the greatest place of personal development. Actually, isolation is one of the greatest teachers. They say experience is a great teacher. I say isolation is a great teacher. Being by yourself is a great teacher. I made a comment while I was preaching this message that actually made me chuckle. Every time I listen to this part, I chuckle, I laugh out loud, my wife too. And I talked about many times, for the ladies and for the fellas, you all, the ladies that go on girls trips and the fellas that go on guys trips, you all go on these trips knowing that you're not getting along, that you're not going to get along with the people that you're going with, knowing that there's some kind of rift or sometimes there's a spat, but you're going because it's your bros or it's your girls. And I said, some of you all just need to be alone. Go on a vacation by yourself. You're only going because you're inside of that comfort zone. Learn how to be by yourself for a period of time. You don't need to go on a trip with somebody. Some of you all need to cancel your girls' trips and your guys' trips. It's funny, when I preached that, somebody came up to me after the sermon and said, Pastor Jay, thank you for that. I'm going through my isolation and I just canceled my girls' trip. I don't need to go. You spoke directly to me. And something I thought was funny, somebody said that's what they needed. A lot of the things that we're doing is because we're so comfortable and we have the creature comforts. So it's time to lean into the isolation a little bit. All right, guys, I want to wrap this up right now. Let me pray for you if you're currently going through isolation. And I want you guys to reach out to me in the comments and tell me how you're dealing with your isolation. God, I thank you right now. We thank you for this day that you made. We're rejoicing. We're glad in it. God, I'm humbled to be coming to your people in this way. I thank you for this time. I thank you for us being able to communicate in so many different types of mediums. I pray right now for individuals who are going through isolation. I pray for their minds. I pray for their spirits. I pray for their heart, that they would not get disheartened, that they would not get weary in well-doing, for in due season, they're going to reap if they faint not. So God, I thank you for the isolation that you allowing for us to go through, that we would develop and learn everything that we need in this day and time. In your name we pray. Amen. If you want to connect with me, make sure you shoot me an email, pastorj@illuminatechurchonline.com. I love you guys. I'm praying for you guys. And we're going to keep bringing you great content like this on a daily basis. This is Daily Inspiration with Pastor J. Peace and blessings. I'm out.